All right, everyone, thank you. Thanks for being flexible with this and flexible again with it, and we'll get us started. We have a really special, it's really not a presentation. I really want this to be a discussion for you now. And as I shared earlier today, I mean, we've heard from people all day today about the importance of multidisciplinary care and team-based care and how important the person with the diagnosis and the care partners are in that. And those were all experts who shared all of that. And now we get to hear from other experts, the real experts, you all who are living with this and figuring it out every day. And to me, I think that's what is most valuable. And I know that whatever they share up here will resonate with you. So with me today, we have Steve and Ann Wysowski. Well, I'll blame it on the laryngitis. And Ann lives with MSA. We also have Deb and Allan Taney. And Allan, yay. Way to clap for yourself, Allan. I love it. Allan lives with PSP. So today we've been talking about navigating the healthcare system, or really learning about all the care options that there are for these diseases, and how important it is to educate yourself and your loved one about those care options. But I really wanted you all to hear from the firsthand experiences about navigating healthcare systems, because really the patient and the person, I don't like saying patient, the person and the family are at the center of that. And it's really about not even the diagnosis as much as about your individual needs, and tailoring it to that. So I have asked them to speak on from their perspective on their role in care and lessons learned along the way. And so I'd like to start by asking them each to briefly introduce themselves, of who they are and your brief story with the diagnosis of PSP or MSA. Would you all like to start first, Allan and Deb?
Hi, my name is Allan Taney. I've been diagnosed with PSP as of August of 2021 by Dr. Cohen of Penn Medicine.
Deb Taney, I don't have it. I just hang out with him.
Allan, just to add to your introduction a little bit, when did your symptoms first start?
I probably started I don't know when it started, probably November, I guess, January of 2021.
Okay.
November 2020. There's these 5 steps that I'd go up every day from into my living room. I had a split level townhouse, a split level townhouse, and these 5 steps. I get up these 5 steps and fall backwards continuously every day. Every day I'd do it, and every day I'd fall backwards without any explanation or anything. So I just constantly, it was painful. So, and the last time I think I did it, I think I lost consciousness for a period of time.
It's scary.
Yeah.
So you were definitely noticing that something was different there.
Yeah.
Well, before he even fell, he just wasn't him. And it was a process of, doctor after doctor, like they were talking about. And of course it was pandemic, so you couldn't get out of the house. But yeah, finally, his sleep apnea doctor actually.
I had one doctor that told me I had white brain disease, which apparently made my brain white or something like that. I don't even know what that was. I don't even know what he was saying, but he didn't. He was like, white brain disease. He's got white brain disease.
Okay,
so, yeah.
No, it's all right. Thank you for sharing a little bit more about how you started to notice things were different, and then you started seeing specialists in the middle of the pandemic too, which is also a scary time. So it
That was
just
crazy. Yeah.
I mean, you two have been through a lot in just the past 2 years, and still coming to terms with that diagnosis.
That's the thing about it. It's just like whatever happens today, it's the best day, because tomorrow's going to be so much worse.
So it's really grounded you in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you don't make any plans. You know, you just die. Yeah. But I mean, you know, he's great though. I mean, he's got a great outlook on everything. He's gotten to be more of a family man. You know, but yeah, he's doing really good.
Thank you for sharing that. So, Ann and Steve, I'd love for you to introduce yourselves as well.
I'm Ann Wysowski, and in the summer of 2020, I moved to Pennsylvania, and that spring I had a sore hip and a limp, and I didn't go to the doctors because of the pandemic. And when I got here to Pennsylvania, I went to the primary care doctor, sent me to an orthopedic guy who said I had Parkinson's. So my orthopedic doctor actually diagnosed me, but a neurologist concurred. And then December 27th, after I worked hard that fall and got rid of my limp, I was walking with my husband, and I said I'm going to tip over. And I tipped over in the street and fell. And then we went to the doctor. A lot of doctors after that. And it took until October 2021 to diagnose me right.
So similar story to what Allan shared, about a year, and in the middle of the pandemic, and you started noticing, it sounds like, sort of these more insidious, subtle signs, and then you had this big fall. Yeah. Okay. Steve, anything you want to add to your introduction?
As Ann mentioned, we moved from Connecticut. It was a big move in the middle of a pandemic, and Ann was exhibiting signs of some kind of neurological disease. Prior to that, I had noticed things, nighttime screaming. I thought it was her job, wasn't sure. I asked her PCP, I said, without violating HIPAA laws, Jack, could you just give her a neurological screening? Ann fell, dealing with some of her students. She had a terrible fall, concussion on a bus. About a year later.
That was in 2018.
2018?
Yeah, I fell on the school bus.
Fell on the school bus.
So that was about 2 years prior to an initial diagnosis of
Down backwards.
Parkinson's.
Also
And
backwards.
yeah, it was a fall backwards. Anyway, we got here. We were pleased with, we were able to expedite an appointment with a neurologist at a local hospital. After a few months of dealing with that neurologist, who was outstanding, I said, I just don't think we're getting anywhere. It doesn't appear that medications are working, and symptoms seem to be denigrating. And he said, why don't you try Dr. Cederhoff, why don't you try Penn Med? And that's a nice segue into, that was a godsend because, and they're not paying me for this adulation, but when we went to Penn Med, there was a whole team that took over. As all of you know, caregivers as well as patients. You're faced with a lot of uncertainty, unknowns, and fear is great at the time. And PenMed, with their team, has just been outstanding. You heard from Lauren. She's been great, and I'll get into some of the things that she's done that have been outstanding. The physicians have been wonderful. We went to the Copes Clinic.
We went to the Copes Clinic, and that was outstanding. And Sarah, the nurse practitioner, is outstanding.
Yeah, and mentioned a nurse practitioner who happened to be a classmate of our son's of a small school here in Pennsylvania. Our son attended school in Pennsylvania. That's why we moved out, to be near our children and grandchildren. So it's just been a fabulous click, and I in a few minutes can speak to some of the specifics. Ann was a middle school teacher. I can't deny that at first I was terribly shocked, fearful, angry. Here was a woman that was stickler on diction and being prim and proper, and all of a sudden she had a terrible fall while we were out walking one day, and it was, as all of you know, those sorts of things are very frightening. In any event, we're here and pleased. We heard about CurePSP. They sent, after we wound up at the Penn Clinic, I just got a ton of information on MSA. And CurePSP was one of the organizations that I contacted, and they were wonderful. Somebody mentioned the program that allows for home health care. I don't know the name of the woman, but we applied for that grant. We were awarded a 60-hour grant through Lauren. I'm going on and on here. I better
Now
get the
you're
microphone.
touching on such important things. Thank you.
Through Lauren, we received information about other resources. I think it's important for all of us, caregivers, family members, patients, to get some kind of legal expertise. And the gentleman here that spoke earlier about the physical therapist refusing care, a lawyer, an elder lawyer, can be very helpful in mitigating that kind of a circumstance. Our lawyer put us into contact with a program that allowed Ann to get home health care. PenMed, obviously was supplying physical therapy in-house, occupational therapy, speech therapy in-house. So, I urge all of you in terms of how, starting to manage this journey, it's important that you get legal aid in whatever state you're in, because the laws may be different, I'm not sure. Here in Pennsylvania, there certainly are different than what we knew in Connecticut. And I know New Jersey and Delaware are some of the areas many of you in the audience come from. But it's a helpful start. And Lauren put us in touch with, through her series of having presenters give presentations through Zoom, put us in touch with a lawyer. We immediately contacted him and haven't been disappointed. I'm going to stop for now.
No, again, you're touching on so many wonderful things, and you've
I
clearly...
used to teach college. Can you tell? I can make a 6-minute lesson.
Would you like me to bring up a chalkboard as well? No, you've clearly been so pragmatic and resourceful in your approach, and you've already named a number of resources that worked for you and that you would advise others to look at as well. So, you all have already touched on so many things, but I'd like to continue talking about navigating your care system, and I'll start with you all. You all up here and you all down there, that one of the unique and often more frustrating aspects of life with these diseases is having a diagnosis that not a lot of healthcare providers are very familiar with, and finding yourselves educating your own clinicians sometimes in your diagnosis. And I was wondering if you could speak to what has your experience been around that, and maybe what advice you would give to others. And if I could start with you, Deb and Allan.
It's really very difficult because, like, I didn't know anything about the medical world, which is weird. My whole family's medical, so I got a lot of information from my sister and my niece. But like, they would tell me, and I'd be like, "You're so wrong," and it would be like so right, because they would tell me like you would just do this and that. But yeah. So we wound up just recently. We just finished the disability procedure. Allan was with the same company for 34 years, and he had to leave because of this. And but
They were afraid that I was going to divulge some
No, they
magical
weren't.
information about the company.
They said there would be side effects with these drugs. Like there were hallucinations and little guys in the corner and stuff. I always walk in and he's talking to somebody.
He's a social guy. And
He's a social guy. He claps for
I
himself.
talked to my own drone.
But now the disability, I don't know if everybody's filed for that yet, but it's not as scary as you think. Like, we were over, if I knew it was that easy, I would have never stressed like I did. Poor Lauren. I don't know how many times I called her. It was a sin. I don't know how she put up with me. But I was like, ah! But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've done that, but it's quite easy. But they scare the heck out of you with it, But
it's an intense process,
Yeah.
but obviously doable. I mean, you
Right.
figured it out.
Right, because I'm no college teacher, believe me. But yeah, it was, I would say that's not as scary as they make it.
That's good to know.
Really, the only thing scary is the disease, I would say. The money doesn't matter, the career doesn't matter. Just if he stays up off the floor, that's what matters. But, Ryan?
Don't fall down the steps.
No, don't fall down the steps. Wear your seatbelt.
Don't fall down the steps.
Wear-
Wear a helmet.
Wear a helmet, don't fall. So just really, one of your biggest pieces of advice, Allan, is to stay as safe as possible. It sounds like avoid getting
Here,
injured.
here.
Yeah, I hear that. Steve and Ann, what about you? Your experience with maybe, educating healthcare providers about the diagnosis and advice you'd have for navigating the system?
It's difficult because at first you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes not knowing what questions to ask, and certainly these are rare diseases. They really complicate issues. It's not. I don't mean to make light of cancer, but there's much more research and information on a disease like that than there is on PSP or MSA. But we were fortunate in the connections that we made because we got immediate information. And one of the great things about CurePSP, I got this document, a series of documents. It's got all what you see over here and then some. And we've used that. It walked us through how to deal with talking to your family, how to deal with the healthcare system. Who do you look for? What do you expect from a physical therapist, your psychiatrist, your psychologist, your neurologist? Ton of information. And then, calling Penn Med if you had questions beyond that is extremely helpful. We found that going to physicians outside of the neurologically difficult diseases, dentists, and had to have eye surgery. CurePSP has these cards, and she had orthostatic low hypotension. So she passed out on the stairs, and we brought her to the hospital. The physicians there, the ER physician, I mean, they're wonderful people, but they just didn't know. And these cards, I have MSA, what can you expect? I also carry a jump sheet in her backpack on the wheelchair, on the rollator, and it shows the medications she takes, when she takes them. Power of attorney, I carry copies of both a durable power of attorney as well as health power of attorney. Sometimes you wind up in a spot, emergency room, and Ann's unconscious. I have to make a decision. Who are you? Yeah, I'm the community spouse, but I also have power of attorney. It's helpful. Certainly, it's a lot to carry. In addition to the goodies, the chocolates, and everything else, those are pretty important things, I believe, you could put together and have. One of the things I found Sarah at Penn Med highlighted this, is whenever you go to your neurologist, your regular special care physician, whoever that may be, even your PCP, it's really helpful to get in touch with them a week or two before. And these people are busy. I mean, physicians they're overworked. They got a ton of, their caseload is immense. It's helpful to illustrate for them and for the team what medications the patient is on, when he or she takes them, any changes in behavior. I've noticed, and Ann and I have talked about this, some changes in terms of her mobility and balance. And so we sent that in. And although Ann disagreed with me at first, it's helpful to have those conversations before you get to the doctor's office so you don't have the argument there and waste anybody's time. I don't mean to make light of that because that's an important argument to have, but to have it beforehand so the physician and the team could deal with the disease and whatever else you need related to the disease is urgent. It's important. So we found that doing that sort of contact, we contact through the portal, Penn Med portal, and every time
Sarah gets back to us
Sarah gets back to us
in an hour.
within minutes. I don't recall, even in the evening, I recall sending Sarah a request or a question. She got back to me within an hour, and I know she has a young one at home, and but dedication of the team is just outstanding. So, it's helpful, and they also ask, Penn Med people ask, contact us through the portal. It's just, we're going to get the, I'm sorry. Yeah, contact us through the portal. But this is an important consideration. With all, and you may agree with me, with all you have to go through, we started off the disease, I was frightened, fearful. Dealing with insurance companies sometimes, and this is part of the healthcare system, I would be less than courteous, and that's putting it mildly. I found that being very cooperative, cool, don't lose your cool when you're dealing with someone. Ann got a shot of a neurotoxin, and it was covered by by the pharmaceutical company. And yet, we got a bill, and I spent, I don't know how many days, weeks, convincing them that here's the contract that you sent me that I signed, and I have a copy of, that indicates you're going to pay for this. I did it nicely, several times over the course of that long period. And finally, the person said, "Oh, you qualify for this, and we apologize." My blood pressure had risen about 40 points by that point, so, But it's helpful to remain cool and calm, because I think I said this to you, Jessica, you don't know who's on the other end. Speak to the person as if they don't know anything about your disease, your illness. Remind them if it's your healthcare team, if it's an insurance company, speak to them as if it were the first time ever with a background. It may take more time, and they may say, "I know that," in which case you may move on. But I found those kinds of things, just be all-encompassing when you speak to people. Be calm and assume they know nothing about the patient's condition. Spoken enough.
It's a great point. It takes a lot of intentionality and practice and grounding to, as frustrating as all of it can be, to take a deep breath and be calm and still be nice and cooperative in that communication, because you've learned through that you get farther in it. But that's easier said than done, for sure. So another question that I have for you all, and you started to talk about this, and I'll start with you all, is, there's so much to keep up with these diagnoses of managing appointments and medications and insurance and when you need to exercise and all of that. And so it's a lot to remember. And so I'm wondering what you all do to help yourself stay organized as you manage all of it, perhaps around preparing for appointments or a symptoms log or something like that to keep it all straight. And because, just as a quick example, to remind everyone of what they touched on, is sort of giving your doctors a heads up on what's been going on and what you want to talk about. So can you all speak to that too?
Debbie writes everything down on a calendar.
She writes
and
it all
then
down on a calendar?
Then I look at the calendar to make sure that I have any appointment. If I have anything that I have to do, I look at the calendar.
So
That's all I do.
Debbie writes things down on a calendar for you so that you can be organized with the appointments.
She writes down all my falls. She writes down everything.
Your flaws?
All my falls.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Enough room for flaws.
Yeah, flaws.
Calendar's not that big.
Yeah, it's not that big.
I don't know. Oh, I forgot what I was
So you
gonna say.
keep track of falls that
Oh yeah, I
way
was
too,
gonna say,
and
yeah,
sort of
the one thing
changes.
I find is very important with him is if he's on a schedule, because it's just like like if something's off 10 minutes, you
You can throw everything off.
yeah, it's like it's like because like his PT guy will come either at like 1 or 2, and that makes him crazy because it's either should be 1 or 2, but nobody can be 1 or what I mean. It's like so, but it's just like. Everything's got to be so scheduled. Like lunch has to be scheduled. His pills has to be scheduled. Dinner
Yeah.
has to be scheduled. Or he just, it's not a good day.
So keeping things routine and
Yes,
helping to
absolutely.
track it. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
some water. Thank you so much. I just have a tickle now. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you too.
Ann and I share an electronic calendar in Outlook, and we also review at the start of the week. What's your week look like? Here's what I have, because I have to go to the doctor or whatever. Here's what she looks like, and it's very helpful in Outlook to look at that electronically. And we also, I didn't speak about this, but we also let our children know. Our daughter lives right around the corner. Our son lives about 10, 15 minutes away. We try to let them know what we're doing. For instance, like today, we're here in Philadelphia at a conference. Wednesday we have doctor's appointments, dentist appointments. So it's just helpful to get that reminder at the beginning of the week for us to refresh what we already know. You just mentioned, physical therapy. Sometimes it's Monday at 11, other times it's Monday at 2. So, we talk about, we have it in the calendar and talk about that so that we're sure that we're ready for that. And what's great is the therapist will come, and although it's home therapy, sometimes she goes to the gym. Other times it's a walk around the neighborhood. It's really a good thing, and more social sometimes than physical, although the physical part of it is certainly extremely helpful. Ann wants to talk about some of the people that you need to surround yourself with in terms of navigating these difficult times.
My husband, he's an advocate, he's my best advocate. And then he's my caregiver, and my PT girl is cheerleader for me, and my speech therapist.
So I heard your husband first and foremost, and that he's your advocate, and that your physical therapist is your cheerleader. She's your cheerleader. It's important to have a cheerleader.
Yeah, but Steve is he's captain of my team.
He's the captain of your team.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up, Ann, and I was going to ask you all if you could speak to how you've built your support system and your healthcare team through this. And so those are, great tips around that and how you've been able to do that. And would you all like to speak to that as well?
The support team.
Yeah, how you've built your healthcare team and your support system.
Everybody in her support team takes everybody Debbie has in her. She does all the support team stuff.
I'm a great cheerleader.
And a cheerleader. I'm hearing the theme of cheerleader and captain on this stage
I
for
can
sure.
see the captain for sure.
Yeah.
But he's real good about keeping up with like morale and stuff. I mean, I don't really have to do a lot. We're really into music, and that really helps. He watches too much TV, but what helps me is it's a silly little song, but I listen to it every day because it just really helps me out. He Ain't Heavy. I don't know if you guys remember it from the Vietnam War, but word for word, I think it's what each and every caregiver here goes through. It's a long road. But so, and his morale stays really good.
So keeping up an upbeat attitude as well.
I think it's huge, I mean, I really do. I mean, my mom died of cancer, and, I mean, it was terrible. I mean, this is terrible, don't get me wrong, but it's a different kind of terrible. This seems to be like hell, like you just can't get out. Slow and steady hell. But he handles it great. Like, I thought he was going to lose it when he was asked to leave his work, because, I mean, a big part of his life was his work.
Sure. And it was for you as well.
Yeah. Well, he helped build the company, and you've been a teacher. I mean, what this disease does to people just blows my mind. I mean, it goes after everybody, the smart, sorry.
Well, no, so let's maybe talk about that a little bit. So you're talking about how hard it is for this, I mean, that's an understatement, right? How hard it is, you called it hell, and how important it is to have the support system, to tap into resources, I mean, I hear a lot of humor on this stage as well, and to be upbeat and hopeful. And so maybe can you all speak to how, despite these challenges and all these changes you two have been through, you four have been through in the last 2-3 years, how you're able to still find that connection and gratitude and humor and, have a smile on your face.
Yeah, it's kind of easy for me because I work in hospitality, so I got to smile no matter what. But he's forced. He loves to laugh, and he's got a heck of a sense of humor. Yeah. Yeah, bend and stretch and smile and pour.
No, just how do you all maintain an upbeat attitude and, find that hope and that still have humor despite all of the challenges?
He's a funny guy. And we have a great family.
Yeah.
Our kids are great.
Our youngest son doesn't do much anything. He just got married. He just got married last weekend, but
Congratulations.
on his mind.
so he had a lot of stuff on his mind, I guess. But my son, my oldest son, is probably the best when it comes to bathing or showering.
And
or
even
whatever.
telling jokes and keeping things light.
Keeping things light. Yeah.
And I heard you mention your family as well.
My family is great, and I keep a gratitude journal.
And you keep a gratitude journal.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
That's
nice.
great. Do you write in it every day?
I try to. And I'm all about positivity. I want positive people around me.
You want to be surrounded by positive people.
Yeah.
Yeah, to uplift
Hear,
you.
Here, here.
For sure. So, on that note, I also want to ask you all, we need people around us to uplift us and to empower us. And we also, something I've learned from you all over the last 10 years is you need to empower yourself and learn to be your own self-advocate. And I think that comes into play a lot with these diagnoses, especially as you're navigating your care system, as you're communicating with your families and your friends. So I was wondering if you could share a little bit about thinking back to, your diagnosis journey and everything that you've had to figure out since then. How have you found yourself advocating for yourself or for your partner? And maybe what advice for others would you give around that? How to be your own self-advocate?
Well, it's kind of like, what's the choice, right? Like, it's kind of like sink or swim. So, you may as well swim hard. So I mean, right? Like, what are you going to do? Like, crawl up in a ball? You know, I mean, hopefully we'll get grandkids someday, so he's got a lot to look forward to. You know? And he's retired now, so that's exciting.
What about the two of you?
I have 2 grandchildren.
You have 2 grandchildren?
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
That's a lot to be grateful for.
2 and 1 is 1.
1 and 2. Fun.
Yeah, so they're the light of my life.
They're the light of your life.
Yeah.
They keep you going. What about how you've advocated for yourself through this? I mean, you've already spoken to that a little bit as well.
I think it's important to know or learn as much as you can about the disease to advocate for the person you're caring for. Lauren has set us up with support groups, and it's good to hear from other people. In some cases, one couple, woman has the same disease as Anne. It's encouraging to hear they're trying to do some of the same things that we are. In terms of self-advocating, we go out to dinner. There are simple things for many people, but for us, they're wonderful outings and local restaurants. And people are just so kind. You don't find yourself having to hold the door. People do that so well. They pick up on the need that you have. Self-advocacy comes with knowledge, and that knowledge comes with a lot of reading, exposure to different people with similar or almost similar types diseases. I think that's really crucial. I think you need to we've included our neighbors. They've been great. My buddies in Connecticut, they're great. During COVID, of course, it limited their ability to travel, but I think the more people you encourage to be a part of your support team and help advocate for you, sometimes ask questions of you that even you don't have the answer to, but you need to go to someone to get that answer because it's a really good question about the disease or something related to it. So I think the more knowledge you have, the more you surround yourself with people that don't have the same but similar experiences, that's extremely helpful. Meetings like this are extremely important.
I'm wondering did you want to add something, Ann? Go ahead. I'm definitely hearing from you all, having life outside of the disease is important. Going out, still having fun, still maintaining these connections and these relationships, because sometimes life can sort of feel like it's revolving around PSP or MSA, and having to be intentional about not having that happen. I'm also hearing the importance of open and honest lines of communication between the two of you as partners and also the other people in your support system and your children. So thank you all for sharing that. I'm wondering if there's any questions from our audience today for our panelists while we're still up here. It's a really unique and sort of safe opportunity to be able to share and to ask these honest questions.
Thanks.
Hi, it's me again. A thought, I have to head out the door real fast here, but one thought, you brought up the topic of legal. When we moved up here from Tyler, Texas, we really started from scratch. And one of the best contacts we made in our journey up here at this time was and this is not a plug for them, it's just they were so helpful to us, they still are. It's a law firm called Rothkopf Law, Rothkoff. They are a senior healthcare specialist law firm. It's what they do. And what they did is, for me, they literally held my hand and navigated us through the Medicaid application process and got that accomplished. But more than that, they helped me accomplish all those things that were up on the chart earlier, the DNS, the will. I mean, all those parts and pieces are part of that initial package. They weren't cheap. I mean, I'll be very open with you. We're all open together here, sharing in this. It started off with writing them a check for $16,500. So big chunk of dough. But if I look at all the different things that they helped us through, and honestly, they're on my speed dial. The second year, you can opt to continue their services for a lot less. It was $3,500 for year number 2. And so as we...
It's a little hard to hear you. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, you can't hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So as we then navigated into year number 2, and we moved Linda into Neshaminy Manor and all that that entails, I would say I probably am on the phone with Kathleen, the lead gal there, probably every week. It may not be legal issues. Right now I'm looking around for perhaps a handicap van so I can more easily get Linda out of Neshaminy and take her out for a lunch or a dinner or a family event. First person I called was Kathleen. We're looking to reach out and get some counseling to help us cope with all the stress. First person I called was Kathleen, so I recommend them highly, number 1. And number 2 is humor. God bless us, keep the humor going. You know, as we got into working with Linda and trying to help do voice exercises and keep the voice strong and develop the air that you need to speak and talk, one of the exercises that she enjoys doing a lot is I have her call me names. And it's amazing how much more volume she can generate when she's calling me knucklehead. So you gotta keep the humor going, you know. So God bless y'all. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions from our attendees today? Over there. Hey, Ricky.
I don't have a question today, but it's my first CurePSP meeting. I'm an associate researcher at Mount Sinai in the brain bank, but I'm starting medical school next year, and I think what I'm so grateful for is everybody's open arms to come in here as a future healthcare provider and physician, to be invested in this community so early in my life and career. And Delilah's in the same boat. She's our clinical coordinator, but she'll also be attending medical school. So I think as someone who's gone to both Iraq and Afghanistan multiple times, that you're the bravest people I've probably ever met, and so welcome and vulnerable, and just appreciate that you're allowing me to have this education so early on in my medical career, and anything I can do to understand now to invest in the future, please share, because then we can advocate better as well. So the more we understand, just like our friend here on stage said, the more we understand, the more educated are, the better we can advocate. And I truly think if we can break some of the silos of communication and all the disciplines and then all the sub-communities, that we can advocate better for everybody here at large. So just grateful for the opportunity, and just want to say thank you. I had the opportunity to say thank you with the panel, so thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that. I feel like that's, oh, do we have another question? It's, as she's walking over there, I'll just add, I think it's a great point about how people who are working in these fields need to hear firsthand perspectives. I mean, that's the core of person-centered care. And so if that, you know, hearing this, that you're gonna be able to remember that and take that with you into your career, and that can help shape that experience for you, that's just so powerful. Do we have another question?
Oh, just comments,
Hey,
really. And
sure.
thanks, Steve. I loved him saying, you don't know what you don't know. That is so true. When you look back, sometimes you're like, oh, now that makes sense. But thank you for sharing your experiences. For my husband, Jack, and me, I think it is very true. Humor is essential. And humor related to bodily functions are some of the funniest things we experience, let me tell you. But one big lesson for me, too, is being flexible. We try to make plans, we take trips, we love to travel, but sometimes things happen and you have to have plan A, plan B, plan C, but somehow we navigate it all because we just figure it out.
Excellent point, Wendy. Absolutely, being flexible. And I am definitely hearing humor is a big theme today, too. And I love that I'm hearing laughs from everyone. And I think that's, you know, it's so important for us to all laugh together, too. Even laugh at hard things or, you know, unexpected situations. and find really beauty and connection through that. So thank you for sharing your experiences. Thank you for just, for spending this time and dedicating your energy to this. And, it's been incredibly powerful for me to be a part of this conversation.
Thanks for having us. Thank you for staying.
Yeah.